I also want to say, give it up for everybody. This is a pretty amazing space to do comedy in, especially when you're not the only comedian. And we had all these other emotions. I was like about to cry on some songs. I was like, I'm not feeling very comedy-ish right now. But let's get into it. So somebody mentioned earlier, anger was mentioned. And I learned really early that anger was my superpower if I knew how to use it right. And I discovered it in an interesting way. I was coming home from school one day and I was trying to avoid bullies because I was always kind of picked on because I was small and kind of a little different, let's say, to people. And so I was walking home feeling a little dejected, but I was trying to lift myself up. And I was like, I don't care what people say about me. I'm just going to hold my head up high. And all of a sudden I heard, and I was like, turn around, it's a dog. And I'm like, well, that's a terrible way to end this day. And the dog started coming at me. And I'm like, I'm running. And I'm like, oh crap, this dog's gonna get me. I got away from the bullies, but now I'm about to get eaten by a dog. And then all of a sudden, this feeling came over me that I wasn't very familiar with. And I eventually realized it was anger. And as I was running from the dog, and I almost got home, but I was scared that if I just turned too much, the dog was going to catch me running to my house. So I tried to outrun the dog. And then this anger kept building up. And I was like, why am I running from this dog? Why are these people wanting to pick with me? Why? And this rage came over me, and I just stopped. And then I turned around, and the dog stopped and was like, And I turned around, and I looked at the dog, and the dog knew what was going down. I started chasing that dog. So I started running after the dog, and I'm running down the street, and I'm like, and people see me, a couple of neighbors are like, what is wrong with that boy? And I'm just running, and I'm telling myself, I'm gonna catch this dog, and I'm gonna bite it just like it wanted to bite me. And I was just tasting, I didn't care if I was gonna eat the dog hair, it didn't matter. I was like, I'm gonna get it. And I just ran, I couldn't catch it. So then I was like, okay, I got a plan now. Because I was so pissed, both with the dog and the world and my own like fear, that I was like, I'm never gonna let myself feel like this. So whenever I feel afraid, I'm gonna let my anger do its job. And so the way I prepared for it is I knew which house the dog had slipped out from. So on my way home from school the next day, I was like, hello. And the dog's like, and he's just looking and just barking at me over the fence. And then I went and clink, opened up the latch, the dog's like, oh yeah? We're gonna do this again? And then I'm like, and I'm running back after the dog. And then somebody said, I see what you're doing, boy. I'm gonna tell your mama. You should have let this dog go. So that ended that way of approaching my fear. But I told myself from now on, for the rest of my life, whenever I feel fear, I'm gonna face it and I'm gonna let my anger do its work. And so I ended up having these 3 fears that were the top of my fear list. The first one was public speaking. Can you believe it? The second one was Adolf Hitler, which I'll get into in a minute. And the third one was Madonna. It doesn't make that much sense. But I was terrified of her a little bit more than Hitler. And so the first one came because my family was very dramatic and performative. My mom, my brothers, my cousins, but I just like reading books and then keep to myself. And my mom kept saying, how can you be my son when you just sit in the corner reading books all the time? And I was just like, I don't know, because that's all I wanted to do. I would just every summer get a pile of books, sit in the corner, first thing in the morning, read, flip them out, read, flip, reread, go back to the library, stack back up, do it again. So my mom decides that she's gonna make me overcome this fear, and she signs me up for a Black History presentation. Now my brother is gonna do this with me, and my brother, performative, just like my mom. So we go out, and I'm like, Mom, please don't make me do this. She's like, oh, you're gonna do it, and you're not gonna embarrass me either. And I'm like, okay. So we show up to the event, and my brother just is all happy. The song starts playing, and my brother's like, dun 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 dun. Hey, stars don't carry money, they only glow, you know. And he's like super excited, and I'm standing next to him like this, not moving, not doing anything. And I'm like thinking in my head like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I look at my mom, and I had this look on her face like, don't you feel sorry for me? Don't you know that you shouldn't have put me in this situation? And like a good mom would do, they would encourage you, but my mom didn't do that. She did like this. She pointed at me, and I was like still standing there like in shock. My brother's just singing along, and all of a sudden her finger goes from pointing at me, her thumb goes up, and I go, oh, she's proud of me. And then I'm like, well, at least I stood up here, but then I see her thumb moving across, and then it comes to her neck, and she goes, and I was like, oh. So then I was like, oh crap. And so what I started doing is I started cracking up laughing. And that's all I could do. I was like, and everybody's like, what is going on? Is that part of the show? And my brother's still like, stars don't carry money. And I'm like, and then I stop, and then I run straight down the aisle, run out, and then I start praying, God save me, take me away from here, I don't know what to do. It was a whole mess. But eventually, as you can tell, I overcame that fear. That's for another story. So then, Adolf Hitler. Why? Because he made no freaking sense to me. I couldn't understand how this crazy person can make so many other people crazy. And the craziest thing that I didn't understand about him was he would say that blonde-haired, blue-eyed people were the best. And I was like, has this fool looked in a mirror? And so it freaked me out that someone could use words in a way that would make people crazy and the people's own eyes would be deceived. And I would be like, how is this possible? But I thought I'd never have to face that fear because, hey, he's gone. Well, last is Madonna. How do I get afraid of Madonna? Well, sadly, my mom and dad divorced when I was 2 years old. And my dad married a white lady. And my mom told me, you better never bring a white woman home ever in your life. I will kill you. And so I was like, note to self. I will not, under any circumstances, bring a white woman home. And then one day, in 1989, I turned on MTV and I saw Madonna. And she was singing a song, and it's becoming famous again. It's like, life is a mystery. And I'm like, it is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I'm like, I am alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. And I'm like, I want a home. And so I'm looking at her with her curly brown hair in the video. Then she comes out, and the whole video is about an innocent black man who went to jail for a crime he didn't commit. She was a witness to the crime. She runs from the scene and runs into Black Jesus. Black Jesus looks at her and goes, and then she goes, oh, I gotta change her heart. She goes and tells the police that the black man's innocent and they let him free. I'm like, this white woman's amazing. And I was like, okay, I'll never marry a white woman. I'll never date a white woman except for Madonna. And I will avoid Madonna at all costs, which was kind of easy. And then life. Some years pass. I get on a phone conversation with this woman I've never met before, but contacted through her email. I'm talking to her on the phone, and I'm like, I'm single at this time. And I'm talking to her, and I go, are you white? And she goes, yes. I said, whew, I'm so glad, because I don't date white people. and then she's like, well, maybe you'll change your mind when we meet. And I'm like, never. But I met her, and she had curly brown hair, just like Madonna. She asked me about the Bible, and I married her. So that, I had to get over that fear. And the last, back to Adolf Hitler. I thought there'd never be anybody that dumb again. And there'd never be any people dumb enough to fall for his crap ever again until Orange Julius Caesar. And I will end with this little piece. I have several friends who have absorbed this person's way of being, and I've had to deal with them. Not all of them white, some of them black, and some of them brown. And I've tried to talk to them, make peace, not try to change their minds, but just try to understand where they're coming from. And one friend said something to me that just blew my mind, and I had to face this fear. I said, bro, I hear everything you're saying. I just can't agree with you. And I don't understand how you could cross this line given that you're from this group that gets demeaned by this person. Please help me understand. And then he said something that was on the edge of profound. He said, look, man, I'm not a smart person. And I was like, okay. He's like, some people may even call me dumb. I was like, all right. I'm trying to see what he's trying to, maybe Rocky Balboa me, and just give me like a little Rocky Balboa speech. And he goes, but when I hear this man speak, I feel smart. And I said, my friend, that was indeed the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I agree with you that you are not smart. And there's one more person that's going to be calling you dumb, and it is me. And so I faced that fear. And now I'm just waiting for the next one. Thanks.